When I tell people I make spreadsheets for work, they imagine me in my pajamas making tax returns. That's not what I do. Back in 2013, I discovered financial modeling championships, ModelOff. In 2014, I made it to the top 16. So I could travel to New York. It was a big event. For competitions, I have been to New York City, London. For client work, I have been to Canada, San Francisco, Switzerland. So working on models on my keyboard, 10 hours, suddenly my shoulder would freeze and then I would not be able to lift my arm. Like touching the keyboard would hurt. When this happens, I would get a lot of anxiety because of all the work that I'm doing. My clients could lose money because I would be late at delivering the work. I kept telling myself there has to be a better way.
So where does your story begin?
Calcutta. So I grew up in a Marwadi family, big family, 15 people in the house. We had my father, uncle, cousins, they all had their businesses. So growing up in a house like this, career was a non-decision. Career was when you get out of school, somebody will take you in their business and that's what you do. I liked maths at school. I enjoyed doing problems a lot. Then I studied commerce. I wrote CAT for my fun of maths. And then I did MBA. Once I graduated, my family was, like a little bit more flexible. There was no pressure for me to move back home. And I thought I will experiment a little bit. I got a job into investment banking, SBI Capital, Mumbai, and then I moved there.
You started out in corporate, right? What was that like?
So after my MBA, I joined SBI Capital in the project finance team. We used to do roads mainly. So toll roads, figuring out the profitability, figuring out what kind of loan it can support. That was where I learned financial modeling really. It was a fun job. It was big, elaborate models. They needed to be precise. They needed to be accurate to be helpful in the deal. I really loved doing that.
But you ended up leaving, right?
Yes, I could see where this thing was going. So the senior ups in the team, they would focus more on deal making, sales, client management, not one of my skills. I didn't want to do that. I was the person who would spend his days and nights on spreadsheets and then being happy that people rely on these to make their deals. So after about 20 months, I left my job and I moved back to Calcutta. Once I was there, I was trying a few things. I tried to help my cousin in his business, and then a friend of mine mentioned about Freelance, who could help international clients with their business problems, and he suggested I could help people with my Excel skills. I signed up on Freelance. Took me a few months to get my first job, but then I found a very nice fun project around it was Salesforce reporting. A client needed help with some Salesforce custom reports.
So how much did you earn from that first project?
$300 before Freelance fees.
So Anup, when did things actually change for you?
Pretty early on this, back in 2013, I discovered financial modeling championships, ModelOff. They run a financial modeling competition, global, which is, where a lot of consultants, modelers, investment bankers would join in and compete. But yeah, I didn't do anything well. In 2014, I made it to the top 16. So I could travel to New York. It was a big event. The who's who of Excel were there. I didn't expect it, but then people started discovering me out of the competition. So they would read about the competition, rankings, top competitors, and they would see, I can hire this guy for building my spreadsheet. And that's when, things blew up for me, and I was getting regular inbound queries about me helping them with their models. So the finalists at these competitions, they were global best. They were from big fours, big consulting companies, large project finance companies. So yeah, the competition was tough.
Anup, how did this championship help you get clients?
You see, my IIM degree does not have a lot of credibility abroad. For a banker in London, they won't know what an IIM finance degree would mean. But from this competition, once you see the roster, once you see kind of people competing there, you will get a fair idea that this person can do models, they are pretty good at it. That really helped me building trust, building credibility in international circles. So I have been a solo freelancer now for more than 13 years, and I have clients in US, UK, Canada, Australia, all over the world really.
Anup, where all have you traveled?
For competitions, I have been to New York City, London. For client work, I have been to Canada, San Francisco, Switzerland, and then for fun, quite a few places.
What's the hard part nobody sees, Anup?
Yeah, there are a few. The first is, of course, which I feel a lot, working alone. In an office, once you have colleagues, office, everybody's working, you work. But when you're working all by yourself, you need a little bit of motivation to get started every day. Also, with my kind of work, the work is in waves. You can have 60-hour work weeks and then a 5-hour work week. And then in both, you are thinking, okay, is this how it's gonna be? A little difficult.
And what keeps you going when things get hard like this?
I really believe my work is important. People rely on my models to make judgments, to make their investments, sell businesses, buy businesses. That really gets me going. Working on models on my keyboard continuously, let's say 10 hours for a week, suddenly my shoulder would freeze. This was like a common problem. Every a few months, it would happen, and then I would not be able to lift my arm. Like touching the keyboard would hurt. A physiotherapist would help me for the next week before I can go back to my computer again. During this time, I would get like really anxious because people are relying on my models for making millions of dollars of deals, and then I'm not responsive for a week because I cannot work on the computer. In such things, I was like really scared talking about this with my clients, because in my kind of work, promptness, urgency is very important. So when somebody is doing a deal, everything is changing every day. But then once this happened, I spoke with my clients that, I have some difficulties with which I won't be able to work for next 3-4 days. And to my, surprise and to my liking, they really supported me. It worked out well. I was trying to be invincible or sound invincible, but then it was not necessary after all.
Now let's talk about getting paid. What was that like for you?
I would say, payment was the most stressful part of the thing. So getting international payments, then there were really two options for me. One was an international payment provider who would collect money abroad via credit card or a bank account paid to me, PayPal, very expensive. The other was getting a Swift transfer in my bank. Both had, their own problems. So PayPal was, of course, like super expensive, 9% for every transfer. But then it was like pretty quick. My bank transfer was economical, but then it was a little slow. And also, I was in the dark for some time. So like my client would make a payment on Monday. I will probably hear back from my bank on Thursday that they have received funds. So from Monday to Thursday, I didn't know what was happening. Did the client remember to pay me on time? Are they missing something? Do they need something further from me? I also didn't want to follow up because, I didn't want to sound desperate.
Anup, apart from the uncertainty, what else bothered you?
So the process with the bank was very manual. It was all over emails. And then there is a compliance thing around. For GST, I'll need FIRC for all my payments. So that was also not very streamlined. I will have to write to my bank separately to get all the certificates. Sometimes, because it's not money involved, they will be slow with that. I faced a lot of stress because of this. I kept telling myself there has to be a better way.
So how did you find Skydo?
So I think I saw a post on LinkedIn from your founder, Movin. He posted about a Blue Dart package could be tracked from source to the end, live, exactly where it is. And then that post explained how payment on Skydo works similarly, that money reaches bank account, passes through different stages, and then reaches me. And I felt, this is exactly how I should be able to do this. And that resonated me with a lot. I registered on a wait list. And then I think in 2023 sometime you launched it for individuals. And then I started getting paid from Skydo. And there has been no looking back ever since.
And has Skydo made your life easier today?
Yes, so now payments are, very smooth. I have no anxiety around, is my money stuck somewhere? Has the client paid on time? So if the client pays on Monday, their time, I would generally get an email, a message that Skydo has received it on Tuesday morning. And then they say either Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning, which exact time it will be settled. Then the FIRC invoices, my expense invoice, everything is taken care of automatically through the platform, no human touch. I think very smooth.
Do you ever think about going back to a regular job?
I think very difficult. I am really used to the freedom now. I can work wherever I want, travel whenever I want, still get my things done. A little difficult with a 9 to 5 job.
If you had to start all over again, Anup, what would you change?
I'll probably get an ergonomic keyboard.